Hi there, it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you very much for joining me again today for another of our 13 days of Halloween projects. Today's project is one of the pizza boxes, and I have stamped all over it to give it this wood look, and then just done a bit of decoration on the top. So it's a fairly quick project, but I wanted to show you as much as anything how to do the stamping. One thing that is worth bearing in mind is that the inside, or no, I'll rephrase that, there are two sides to the pizza box. So let me bring in a flat pizza box. There is this side, which is flat, as in matte, and then there's this side, which you can see is reflective. This side is food safe. So if you are making homemade biscuits or cookies, you could put one in here and gift it to your friends and family. In the UK, if you are doing craft stalls, you are, unless you have a license to do so from your local authority, most local authorities will require you to have the license to sell unwrapped or homemade goods. So just bear that in mind. But if you're gifting to friends and family, certainly in the UK, gift away, and I can't talk for other areas of the world because I don't live there. Anyway, it's a fairly quick, easy project, but as I say, my main thing was to show you how to use the background stamp on the pizza box, and also just to highlight that I'm using the seasonal chums, and I'm using obviously the pumpkin. These will fit in a circle punch quite nicely, so we'll go through that as well. So I have done a little bit of prep because there are only so many times I think you want to see me run something through the Big Shot when it's just a square. But I will start with the wood stamping. I'm using the hardwood stamp. Still got brain ache. And that I am going to put on our enormous F block. You don't actually have to put it on a block, but I do like particularly when I'm using something like the pizza boxes, I do like the fact that it is a solid base. Now I am going to bring in the scrap that I used earlier to do the stamping, because I will need to use something to just make sure that it's properly attached, as in, you know, the surfaces are meeting properly. I'm using pumpkin pie this time. This was Cajun Craze. It's a little stark on the colour, but I wanted to keep to the whole Halloween theme colours. You could obviously use crumb cake or Sahara sand, or you could do a mix. So you could do a spray. I've done a video a wee while ago of how to spray your pizza boxes with ink using the Stampin' Spritzers. So you could spray a base colour, and then in crumb cake or soft suede, and then come in with a darker colour, or actually probably the same colour, because it's quite difficult to get the depth of colour with the spray. And yeah, just build up some actual wood texture. I am taking out all the little bits because we don't need those, so I am taking those out. There are some obvious places to have any joins, so join on a crease line. It is wide enough that you can get the whole pizza box in that way. I'm going to start at the front and just make sure I get it in the middle, and then bring in my piece of scrap paper and just use that so that I don't get covered in pumpkin pie ink. It's not a good look. And then there we are. So that's that one nicely stamped up. And then bring the ink back in again, just lock that out. Ink up the pad again, the stamp again, and then, bearing in mind this is where I left off, I'm going to come in and pop that just down a bit, just there. And again, bring in the piece of scrap paper. Should have had it the other way up because this might still be wet, but never mind. Actually, I will turn it over. I'll use the now quite dry Cajun Craze side up, I think. And just smooth that over. You could use another block just to rub over the back, but I do that for card. But with this, because it's a heavier weight card for the pizza box, I just think it's a bit easier to really get in there. And you can see that this is where I finished off previously. I hadn't quite come over this crease, but it's matched up quite nicely. So you can just overlap your edges a wee bit is what I'm sort of saying. Now I don't actually need all of that inked up, but I'll ink it up anyway. And again, because I haven't quite hit the crease line, I'm going to come in so that I'm slightly over the crease line. This is actually the base of the box, so it's not quite as vital. And again, with my Cajun Craze side up, just make sure that I'm getting all of those bits nicely stamped. So I'm putting quite a lot of pressure on because this, as I say, it's a thick card. So I do want to make sure that it is definitely stamped, which it is, as you can see. So this I then need to just clean with my Stampin' Scrub, which I will do later because that's going to need a good proper scrubbing. So I shall pop that down. Get rid of the pumpkin pie, and I'm now going to do the stamping for, oh, sorry about that, stamping for the pumpkin while that's finally drying. Don't need that anymore. And I'm just going to use a literal scrap of Whisper White and basic grey. You could use black, but sometimes I think it's nice to have a slightly softer outline. And although I don't need both images, I just want to show you that you can get both of them stamped out, or punched out rather, with a circle punch. So those are well stamped. And this I will scrub whilst I've got it here, because it's an easier thing to sort out. So that's nice and clean. The red rubber is easier to get the archivals off, but I would still do it sooner rather than later. It won't stain, particularly if you do it quickly. If you leave it on too long, it will stain. It won't damage your stamp, but it's better to get it clean sooner rather than later. So, punch, pinch of a punch. So this is the 1 3/4 inch circle punch, and really must get that sticky spot off. You can see, if you need to be aware of where the other one is, particularly if you want both, well, regardless actually. That fits quite nicely. Now, it's unlikely that you would have bought this stamp set without bundling it with the framelets, because it is kind of the point of the stamp set. But if you don't want to dig out your big shot and you want just the one of the images, for this image, it doesn't work for the snowman or the reindeer, but for the pumpkin, you can just punch it out of a circle. And obviously you've got both, so you could put the back of a pumpkin on something as well. So I'm going to do some quick colouring in. These are Stampin' Right markers. These two, the Real Red and the Old Olive, you will have already heard me say, you can currently get as a duo in the Autumn Winter catalogue. The Basic Black you can get as a single. The Pumpkin Pie, unfortunately, you can't. You have to buy that as part of the Brights range. Actually, I won't put that on. You can, but I won't. Keep your eye open. It's always worth just keeping a lookout for singles and duos, because we do them quite frequently, but not all the time, if that makes sense. And they generally seem to be in the seasonal catalogues, so in the autumn, winter, or the spring, summer. So keep your eyes peeled for those. We had one in the spring, summer earlier this year. We had some duos. I tend, at any point where there is either a single colour, because black is always available as a singleton, whenever there is a single or a duo, I tend to stock up, because particularly for class, if I've got some singles or duos, so spares, rather than using colours that are in a full set, I'm less worried about them, just in case anyone has a bit of a mental moment and forgets that you don't actually need to scrub when you're colouring. It's more about layering, and you don't go in point first. And particularly if you're using these to show people that you can use the markers to ink up stamps, if they're not quite sure what they're doing, it is quite easy to damage the tip. So, as I say, when they are available, I stock up on duos and singles, so keep your eyes peeled, particularly in the seasonals. Now, obviously, the ink colours you can get in packs of 5. The colour families, with the exception of the neutrals, actually no, even the neutrals, it's the paper that's different, you can get in packs of 10, although the neutrals don't have 10 because of white. I'm not sure that black's in the neutrals either. So you will see I've just kept layering the colour, but rather than going over one area, just keep layering up, so go round to allow one side to dry before you go over it with the same colour again. And that way you're less likely to have any pilling of the paper, because Whisper White is great for stamping. It doesn't like being wet, so you don't want to go over the same area too much. Let me see if I can show you what I mean. So if I do this too much, yeah, I can just feel it's going. Brilliant. There we are, pilling. So I'm actually picking up card, and that's because the card becomes too wet, so it breaks down. But I can go back in, so if I want to intensify this bit of the stalk, I can go back in, because that's now dry, and add some more colour, and that would be fine. Right, okay, this bit is the trickier bit, because I want black in the eyes. But I don't want to use the narrow end, because that would just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. But I don't want any white showing other than the cut edge of the pumpkin. Now obviously you can spend a little more time. It would be ideal for watercolour pencils. This I am going to use the writing end. I just want to add red as an accent for the inside of the pumpkin. I know the inside of pumpkin is not red, but it's Halloween, and why can't I have a bit of red? So I have to say I love the pizza boxes. They are so versatile, because you can use them as a box for gifting 3x3 cards and envelopes. And of course we've got the 3x3 envelopes in the autumn winter catalogue. Sorry, there's a helicopter going over. We're near an RAF base. But you can also use them for gifting just as gifts. So yeah. Right, okay, so this you need to have quite a good, oh, I'm about to run out of battery. You need to really crease your score lines, which is really therefore not the moment I want to discover I'm running out of battery, but there we go. So before you put it all together, make sure everything is well creased, because it's much easier to do it when it's not been put together. I speak from experience. So the base is like any pizza box. You just bring the sides in, flip over the front bit, because this is the front, and then those clip in here. And then the top, you fold the edges in, and everything goes on the inside. So fortunately I have pre-cut my squares. These are just cut with the square shapes, the square framelets, and these are just the layering squares. And I've used these are the two largest of the scallops. This is in Cajun Craze, and this is in Pumpkin Pie. I'd used the largest and the second largest for the original, and that was Black and Cajun Craze. And I'm just sticking these on with Fast Fuse. Then I'm bringing in the Starburst punch to punch a piece of black. And that I am going to stick on with dimensionals. Can you tell I'm beginning to panic that we're running out of time? Remember that the buy 3 get 1 free on selected designer series paper offer is on until the end of October. My draw for every £25 you spend in my online store, you will be entered for the Merry Patterns stamp set, which otherwise you can get by placing an order of £250 or more at my online store. It's free, it's never going to be charged for, and so obviously in my drawer it's also free, just as a perk for spending with me on at my online store. And finally, just a very quick double bunny bow. And this is the stitched edge. This isn't the real, it's the stitched edge ribbon. The details will be on my blog post. The link is below. All the dimensionals, all the products will be below in the blog post. The products will be listed below in the video. Do hop over there, have a look at the current offers. All the details are there. And until the 15th, you can also buy the starter kit with our new blends, which are the alcohol inks that we are bringing out. I've just put a glue dot on the back of there, and there we are. Oh, phew. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Hit subscribe down there to see more, and I will see you again for more of our 13 days of Halloween very soon. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye. Bye.